Well, Infinity Ward has finally announced the next Call of Duty for the year, and it's Modern Warfare 4, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. And this video has taken me quite a few tries to try and put together, so if I ramble, I do apologize. It's been a long time since I can really enjoy any Call of Duty news. As a mouse and key player, these games have been pure hell to try and play for the last few years, if not longer. Add the skill-based matchmaking on top of overtuned aim assist, and it just makes my experience worse the more I try to play it. It got to the point where I gave up entirely when Black Ops 6 released and just kept myself busy playing literally anything else. Originally, I was planning to check out the open beta for Black Ops 7, and I know with BO7, Treyarch has reworked SBMM, but between being burned out, the campaign looking like it was AI generated, and not really knowing if Treyarch would be able to make SBMM better and maybe adjust aim assist, I'd rather just skip the game entirely. There were just too many unknowns that could easily be reverted back, and we end up back at square one. However, the announcement of MW4 also included a large list of features and updates that has me interested. Maybe not enough to buy the game, but enough to check out the open beta later this year and make my decision then. While I'm not going to cover every single new piece of information, I did want to run down the list of features that caught my eye, and towards the end of this video, make a case as to why I will or will not buy MW4. And as I run down the list of features we know of, if you enjoy this breakdown, consider supporting this channel by leaving a like and sharing this video around. To quickly touch on the single-player campaign, the game takes place mainly in Korea, with the war breaking out with North and South Korea. And for one reason or another, Captain Price is on the run. And that's all I really want to know about the campaign. I find COD campaigns are usually more fun just playing them instead of looking for every little bit of information around them. COD campaigns can be so simple and easy to predict, it can get to the point where you know how the entire campaign is going to play out, and it kind of ruins the experience. And now, more importantly, let's dig into this list of features that will affect the game's multiplayer. Infinity Ward claims they're going to tone it down on the cosmetics and make them more realistic and grounded. The only requirement I have for them to accomplish this is simply to not add cartoon or comic book characters in the game. I don't mind the occasional weapon skin, charms, stickers, or banners, etc. I just don't want to be shooting at Peter Griffin or anything like that. If they're able to stick to that, I'll be happy. Of course, we are going to get skins that are flashy and stick out. It's going to happen. I just hope it's nowhere near as bad as it has been for the past few years. Moving on, MW4 will not release on the PS4 and Xbox One. This allows them to add a ton of engine upgrades that couldn't be done before, and it should result in a better overall gameplay feel. Along with this, Warzone will also no longer be playable on the PS4 and Xbox One after the MW4 integration. And I know the price of technology has gone up, but these are also 10-year-old systems, and when you're trying to make a game on a 10-year-old hardware, that does kind of limit what you can and cannot do. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but in the long run, this is better for Call of Duty and really for any game that takes this route, because it will allow them to make these games not only have better graphics, but also better physics and potentially better gameplay because of it. Next up, Ground War is returning to Modern Warfare 4. And personally, I do like Ground War. I think it's a fun, casual, Battlefield-style mode that you can get into, especially if you're having a bad day with skill-based matchmaking. And it's a good place to farm long shot kills and other challenges like that without having to rely on one or two maps. Moving on into the gunplay, there will be no recoil bloom for the hipfire. Funny enough, I mentioned what recoil bloom is 2 videos ago when I talked about Battlefield 6 and its new update. So if you want a visual representation of what that looks like, you can go ahead and watch that video. But for Modern Warfare 4, the way the hipfire will work now is by having hipfire be in line with wherever the barrel of the gun is pointed at, which not only is a little more realistic way of going about it, but it also means that these weapons are going to be much more accurate and less random. And continuing on with gunplay, they are also making changes to visual recoil and having a more advanced depth of field system. Now, visual recoil is something that I had a big problem with back in Modern Warfare 2. I felt they went way overboard with it, and it got to the point where I couldn't really see what I was shooting at. And as a mouse and keyboard player, I kind of need to see what I'm shooting at. I can't just rely on aim assist to do the job for me. With Modern Warfare 4, from what it sounds like, there is still going to be a lot of visual recoil, but they're going to do it in such a way where it's not going to affect the actual line of sight. So you will still be able to see what you're aiming at and still have the muzzle smoke, muzzle flash, etc. And this also includes the depth of field system, where they're going to try and make it so that iron sights are a lot cleaner. And when it comes to iron sights, it really does depend on the kind of weapon and how much weapon bob there is. If the weapons are fairly static like they were back in Modern Warfare 19, then yes, iron sights are back to being meta. Otherwise, we are more than likely going to have to rely on the ×1 optics or ×2 optics, We'll have to figure out once we actually get our hands on it. And the last bit of news when it comes to weapons is that there's also going to be something called Apex attachments or max level weapons. And these are essentially going to be a conversion kit similar to what we got in Modern Warfare 3. However, the big difference is that Apex attachments will not take up one of the 5 attachment slots. So if there's an Apex attachment that, for instance, turns the M4 into an SMG, that will no longer require one of your 5 slots, so you can have an M4 SMG with all 5 attachments. And I'm honestly a big fan of this. I always like conversion kits and these Apex attachments. I felt they were a lot of fun in Modern Warfare 3, and they just added something else that you can do with a weapon instead of just getting it to max level and then never using it again. They may never be meta, but again, it gives you a reason to try out the gun again. On a more technical side of things, they are also reworking the field of view. Field of view, or FOV, allows you to see more or less of your peripheral vision depending on if you increase or lower the setting. Right now, if you change the FOV, it would also change the size of the characters. So while a larger FOV would allow you to see more of what's going on, it would also have you fighting against thinner characters, whereas a smaller FOV would make characters appear chunkier. With this reworked FOV in MW4, they claim the characters will remain the same size regardless of your FOV setting. This is a great change, and should help with removing any aiming advantages players could have with the current FOV system. And it can't be a Modern Warfare video if we don't talk about movement. Omni movement is going to be gone, which is to be expected, but it will be replaced with a responsive movement system. And from the clips that we've been seeing online, there will be faster mantling over objects, and the movement is going to look more like MW3, and it's not going to be slowed down like it was in MW2. So again, that will allow for very quick mantling, climbing pipes, diving backwards, and more. And while we are going to have more movement options than we did in Modern Warfare 2, we really have to see how fast these movements actually are in-game. Are they fast enough to feel responsive and rewarding, or is it going to feel more like you hit a button and then you die because you tried to move? Moving onwards, there's going to be a Classic and a Soft Prestige system. Classic Prestige will work the way you would imagine. You get to max level, you hit the reset button, and everything gets locked back up again, and you have to unlock everything all over again, but in exchange you get exclusive rewards and faster XP. Whereas the Soft Prestige system, your account will go back to 0, but you keep everything unlocked. It will be up to the player if they want to get those exclusive Prestige rewards by going through the Classic Prestige system, or if they just go through the Soft Prestige. As for perks, the only one I'm going to mention is that Ninja perk is actually going to be available, and from what I'm hearing online, the Ninja perk is going to make the footsteps quieter, but it will not remove them entirely, which is perfectly fine. Personally, I would like a perk to counter the Ninja perk, but I'm not going to complain so long as we can hear the footsteps. Map voting is going to return, which should always be a staple in any Call of Duty game, and I think for the first time in a very long time, if ever, we're getting theater mode in Modern Warfare 4. This is something I've been complaining about and saying for years now, that every new game, especially every new online game, should have a replay mode or a theater mode. So it's nice to see this being added to Modern Warfare 4. Hopefully this means any new Call of Duty game will also feature theater mode, and only time will tell whether or not that will actually happen. As for the UI, we are getting a new vertical style UI that seems to be inspired by the original Modern Warfare 2, and we're not going to be plagued with the Hulu style horizontal menus that we've been stuck with ever since Modern Warfare 2 2022. And DMZ is also returning. If you've been watching my channel for some time now, you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of extraction shooters. But I do think DMZ is actually a pretty good extraction mode, at least at surface level. The original DMZ was way too shallow, and the developers just never got to build up on it. So hopefully this new version of DMZ is more fleshed out, and it gives us more things to do outside of just going in raid after raid, and gives us something like base building or something similar to do in between matches. Now, while all of this does sound great on paper, it really does depend on how it all works together when you're actually playing the game. And so I put together a list of downsides and upsides to buying Modern Warfare 4. And I tried to be as fair as I could, but there are going to be a lot more downsides and unknowns, and very few upsides. So the downside, the very first one, is going to be gameplay. Of course, that's not something we can know until we actually get our hands on it. From what it sounds like, it's going to be a faster paced Modern Warfare, which is great, but at the same time, we could have all these options and, the movement speed may be a little too slow for it to actually matter. Is the aim assist going to be overtuned? We don't really know. And just continuing down this list of downsides, are we going to have and keep good servers now since the game engine is updated? Will the netcode be improved as well? These are again unknowns, something that we won't know until we actually get to play the game. And at the same time, that can change after launch, which goes into my next 2 points. There's a possibility that major changes are made throughout the year that ends up making the game slower and worse and not worth playing. And it's also possible vice versa that no changes are made after launch and the game just remains however it was at Season 1. Neither of which are a good option. These games as a live service should continue to evolve and be a better version of itself as the year goes by, instead of just being stale or stagnant or making changes that make it worse. And with Infinity Ward being behind the wheel, it's really hard to imagine which way this is going to go. And it can't be a Call of Duty video if I do not mention skill-based matchmaking, which I already did, but I'm going to mention it again here. Because right now, Infinity Ward is going to be using the Black Ops 7 SBMM, which is the better version that we have so far. However, that can change over time. So skill-based matchmaking might get better, but again, it's Infinity Ward. SBMM might also just end up getting worse and being closer to what we had back in Modern Warfare 3 and Modern Warfare 2. And just something else to keep in mind, will the anti-cheat keep up this time around? They have been making strides with the anti-cheat, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe the anti-cheat will keep up, maybe it will be effective, maybe it won't. And I do find cheating to be a lot more aggravating when trying to play the Battle Royale, or Resurgence, or DMZ. When it comes to multiplayer, it's usually not too bad. Even if I do run into a cheater, I just exit the lobby and queue up a different game, and that's about it. Usually I won't end up in another lobby with a cheater again. Obviously, that's not the best case scenario. We want an anti-cheat that is a lot more aggressive in that sense, a lot more proactive, but only time will tell if the anti-cheat can keep up, and if there are any new updates to the anti-cheat with this new game engine that will allow them to detect cheaters faster. And even though Modern Warfare 4 is going to get DMZ, it is always a possibility that they may drop support for DMZ just like they did last time. Even if they intended to keep DMZ running for another year after the MW4, there's also a chance that they may just give up on it like they did last time. And as for the upsides, I only have 3 of them. The first one is if you do enjoy the game enough and you buy the game at its base price of $70, you'll get the game, 4 to 6 seasons of content, including 2 to 4 new maps and weapons per season, for what would be less than $10 a month. On top of this, there are no other games that play like Call of Duty, and there are no other games with a gunplay that feels like Call of Duty. If you do buy the game, you can continue playing it after the first year. However, there's just no new content that would be coming out with it. And unfortunately, in the gaming space, especially with FPS games, the market is just running at a very slow crawl, especially when we're talking about arcade and arena shooters, and there's just nothing on the market that plays or feels like Call of Duty. Not to say that we need a Call of Duty clone, but we do need other competition outside of Apex Legends. I am going to wait until the open beta to actually try out the game and see how it feels like. Hopefully they do nail down all of these changes and it actually feels fun to play on mouse and keyboard again, without being fried by aim assist and without being penalized by skill-based matchmaking. Let me know if any of this sounded good to you. What are your main concerns with Call of Duty? Are you just going to buy the game outright right now? Or do you think Call of Duty has to earn your dollar? Let me know all of that in the comments below, and until then, I am Mr. Rain, and I'll see you guys next time.